See, when I started out in triathlon, I got myself a pair of triathlon shoes. And then it wasn't until a few years later that I got myself a pair of road cycling specific shoes. And I couldn't believe what I've been missing out on. Nowadays, I do all my cycling training in my road shoes, and then I do my long distance triathlons in my road shoes. But then I do short distance triathlons and draft legal triathlons in my tri shoes. Those are just my options, my preferences. There are so many pros and cons to each of the shoes. So I think it's time we put them head to head in a triathlon shoe versus road shoe. Now, some of you may be watching this now, scratching your heads and thinking, triathlon shoes for triathlon. That's what they're designed for, surely. You wouldn't see the Brownlee brothers wearing road shoes for draft legal triathlons. True, but on the same score, we quite often see the likes of Jan Frodeno, Ben Hoffman, and Sebastian Kienle wearing road shoes. But before we get stuck into all of that, I think we should quickly run through the two different styles of shoes. First of all, the pure road cycling shoe. They're built for comfort and they're designed to keep the foot secure in the shoe. And for me, when I first switched to road shoes, it was the support within the shoes that I really noticed. It just felt like it held my foot better, particularly through the arch. And I've actually heard athletes reporting that it's helped to minimise injuries and also get rid of injuries altogether for them. Whereas with a pair of triathlon shoes, they're designed to get your feet in and out of them quickly. So they tend to have a couple of Velcro straps across the top to help that, but that does also mean they don't always hold the feet quite as securely as a pair of road shoes. And then you will often find a little loop on the back of triathlon shoes, and that's to help with getting the shoe on quickly. And you can actually use that loop for attaching elastic bands to if you're doing a flying mount out of T1. And then another really noticeable difference is with the materials used. So obviously you're coming out of the swim with wet feet, so they use materials that are slightly more breathable to reduce the moisture within the shoe. And then you will actually find on some of the shoes a small hole in the sole of the shoe, and that is to drain out any water. And then finally, the materials used within the shoes are there for comfort, particularly for those that are opting to race without socks. The obvious difference with these shoes comes down to the transitions, and this is where the triathlon shoes are in their element. So whether you're doing a flying mount or you're putting your bike shoes on and then running out with your bike, they're quick and easy to get into. And in draft legal racing, where every second counts through transition, to make those bike packs, you'll pretty much only see triathlon specific shoes. They're relatively short races compared to an Ironman, for example. So whether you're doing a draft legal race or not, if you're only on the bike for a relatively short amount of time, you might welcome a few saved seconds through transition. And for long distance races, transitions are still important and time is still precious for many athletes. But the odd second lost getting your feet into some road shoes isn't quite so obvious. In fact, for fans of road shoes, they would argue that those few seconds lost getting your feet into and fastened into some road shoes is far outweighed by the performance benefit and the time made up over a long bike course. But you know what? I think we should just go and see how much time someone might be losing through transitions, getting their feet into some road shoes versus some triathlon shoes. Right, we're going to start the clock when I grab my bike from here. I'm going to run up to the mountain line up here, which I've drawn out. Obviously mount after the mountain line, and then we're going to stop the clock once I got my feet into the bike shoes and fastened into the bike shoes. First up, the tri shoes. Right, ready? Let's go. Okay, next up, the road shoes. Ready? Let's go. All right, that was really fun. We saw a 7-second difference in time. Obviously, the triathlon shoes were quicker than the road shoes. No surprises there. But I do understand not everyone is doing a flying mount out of transition. So let's do something slightly different here. We're going to do the same again, but I'm going to put the bike shoes on before I grab the bike, run to the mountain line, and then I'm just going to step over my bike and clip in. Compare the two. First up, tri shoes. All right, clock starts as soon as I grab the shoes. Ready? Let's go. And finally, the road shoes. Ready, let's go. Interesting. Okay, so there wasn't actually quite as much difference between the final two transitions as I expected, and they also weren't that much slower than the flying mounts either. So I think that comes down to quite a short run through transition, and I'll make the excuse of a new bike too, why not? Either way, the triathlon shoes were clearly quicker for the transitions. However, it'd be hard to argue against the road cycling shoes being better for cycling. I mean, otherwise we'd see pro cyclists wearing triathlon shoes. They don't do that. Either way, I think they've both got their place for triathlon. But the main importance, I think, comes down to being comfortable. The more comfortable we are, the better you're going to maximize your performance when you're cycling. It's worth remembering that we all have different size and shape feet, and also our biomechanics are very different. So my biggest recommendation would be to try a number of different bike shoes in a similar way to when you're picking a new saddle for your bike. If you pop into a local bike shop, I'm sure they'd be very happy to help, and you can weigh up that comfort over the distance that you're planning on racing. If you'd like to see more videos from GTN, just click on the globe to subscribe. If you'd like to see our clipless versus flat pedal video, just click down here. If you'd like to see how to choose a saddle for triathlon, just click down here.